All right, guys, welcome to the team call. What is today's date? It is 4/11/2022. And today we're going to talk about social media, particularly Facebook. But you know what? Before we do that, Angela, I'm putting you on the spot. Do you want to talk a little bit about that allergy group real quick?
Okay, I'll try. I have the hiccups. We're doing a group. It is starting on the 18th and it's going to go through the 22nd, I believe. Is that right? Hold on, grab my notes. I have it through the 18th through the 22nd. Yes. So now is the time to kind of start breadcrumbing, putting in your stories, putting it out there, whether you're struggling with allergies or if you know of anybody. And then of course we have Easter and Good Friday falls this Friday. So of course, not inviting people over that time, of course, but maybe just reminding them on that Monday and just saying, hey, just a reminder, send out your monthly email. If you do that, I sent mine out today. And just kind of showing some interest. But honestly, it's the rule of three, posting about it 3 times because not everybody's going to see it. So you guys kind of know the drill.
Well, and that's a little bit of what we're going to talk about tonight. Posting and social media and all of that. And I am still getting over this cough, so if I start coughing in the midst of it, just forgive me. And also remember, we're going to talk about this in the presentation as well, but also just keep in mind that even if you're posting about it 3 times, make sure you're personally inviting people, texting them, Facebook messaging them, emails, whatever your jam is, because a lot of times people wait for that personal invitation. Okay, so hold on. Let me go back. Oops, I stopped screen sharing. I didn't need to do that. Okay, now let me screen share. Okay, so for those of you who have been around for a while, this is going to be some review, but I really think it's important to go over the basics of social media. And I'm the one who wrote this, and it was even a great reminder for me. So I'm hoping that you don't just tune out if you've heard all of this before, but really take it to heart and do a little bit of evaluation of your usage of social media. So this is Soul Tool Time, leveraging social media, and we are going to focus on Facebook. So just a little bit of review. Why would we do social media? I know a lot of us are combining in person with social media, but I actually had a great conversation with my husband tonight. So I was talking to him about the in-person part of my business that's growing, and he goes, yeah, but how are you getting those people to your house? And I'm like, well, I post on social media. And he's like, oh yeah, so it's still important. So it really is still a connecting tool. Obviously, person to person is always great. If you have someone in your house that then refers you, well then, yeah, social media is taken out of it. But you can still connect with a large audience at the click of a button, kind of like what Kristen was talking about when she was saying that her heart is to grow one to many, right? And social media and other forms of media are a great way to do that. Obviously, you can expand your reach far beyond your own community. I wouldn't know Krista Shepherd, my dear friend in Canada, if it wasn't for social media. Cassie wouldn't have connected, with all of us if it wasn't for social media. I wouldn't have my buddy Angela, or not Angela, Ashley. Angela's local to me, so sorry, Angela. I wouldn't have a friend in Myrtle, South Dakota, if it wasn't for social media. So it can be a great way to connect with people far beyond your community. And social media is today's gathering place. I think we all kind of have learned that the last couple of years that people crave connection, and for a while there it wasn't super possible, right? So our goal on social media is always to build a relationship. I always say to people, we don't call it sales book, we call it Facebook. The relationship is first always. And sometimes that means that we have to kind of bite our tongue in what we're saying, and we need to rewrite our stuff, but really focus on building that relationship. So the reason that I focus on Facebook so much is, doesn't matter, it seems to, 6 months from now, a year from now, this could change. But for the last almost 10 years, this has kind of stayed consistent. And the things that I'm talking about in here are things that have been pretty consistent over the last 10 years of me being in business. Is the reason that I start with Facebook is because it's kind of like the mom or the dad of all social media networks. Twitter, I guess in a way could be seen as like a long-standing social media network as well, but it doesn't really work great for business in the way that Facebook does. And it seems like, other social media networks come and go. The other one that's been standing the test of time is Instagram. But I mean, you have TikTok, you have some of these new ones that are coming out. You have Telegram, Parler. I don't even know the names of all of them. You have Snapchat, you have WhatsApp, you have, what's the one where you can talk for a long time? Marco Polo. Like, there's so many different social media apps that literally you could have, 10 different apps on your phone at the same time. But it seems like Facebook is the one that's been standing the test of time. Now I'll go talk to my 18 and 20-year-old nieces and they'd be like, you're old if you're on Facebook, which is probably the case. But that is why I really believe in the power of Facebook, even with, all of the new social media networks. So this is review for a lot of you guys, but let's talk a little bit about how Facebook works, because there is actually a formula behind the madness, and it is constantly changing. I've noticed lately, anyone else noticed lately? Let me see if I can actually look at you. Raise your hand if you have noticed lately that you're seeing the same stuff in your newsfeed. Yeah. So there's something going on lately. I don't know what it is, where they have obviously changed the algorithm again. And that happens, maybe every 6 months, once a year, whatever. And it seems like for whatever reason, when that happens, then we just start seeing the same stuff in the newsfeed all over again. In a way, Facebook gets kind of boring and you get frustrated because you're like, my stuff is not getting out there. Just hold tight, because the algorithm will catch on to who you are engaged with. This has happened more times than I can count over the 10 years that I've been paying attention to it. So there is a method behind the madness. So there's a lot to it, but this is like the best graphic that I could find. It talks about EdgeRank. So EdgeRank is basically the algorithm that Facebook uses to determine where and what posts appear in each individual user's newsfeed. It's sort of like a popularity contest in a way, which makes me not like it. But at the same time, if you've ever gone to the setting on Facebook where you go to the most recent, which is what I always think that I want. I'm always like, why can't Facebook just show me like the most recent stuff? But you don't realize how many people like share junk, or they share memes, or they share recipes, or they share, lost pets. Not that I'm saying lost pets are junk. I'm just saying that they do a lot of that kind of stuff, which I'm not really that interested in shared recipes, let's say. And so they use EdgeRank determined by your activity to show you who you would be most interested in, and vice versa. So it's basically affinity, which is the relationship between you and a person. So the more I talk to Julie on Facebook, the more Julie's stuff is going to show up in my feed. It's by weight. and weight changes all the time. So right now, what can you do on Facebook to get the most views? I know Angela knows because she's been doing a lot of them. So what do you think gets the most views? Just words, shares, photos, videos, live videos, reels, stories? What gets the most weight right now? Nobody knows? Is Angela not on here? Angela,
I'm here.
which would get the
I
most
would
weight?
say for Instagram, it's reels, and for Facebook, I would say it's stories.
Yeah, or reels, or any kind of video, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, and so that
Like talking
changes
stories,
with,
yeah.
yeah, that changes with time. Like for a long time, the number one thing, like the heaviest weight thing was live video. Live video definitely still gets a lot of views, but definitely on both Facebook and Instagram, it's stories and reels. And guys, my heart wants to be like Paige and be really amazing at reels, and I'm gonna get there someday. You guys really, really inspire me because I know, being someone who's always been into social media, that's where I need to be, but I just haven't gotten there. And then time decay is basically what it sounds like. Time decay is if you put something up and nobody likes or comments on it, Facebook is going to be like, nobody wants to see that. It's not interesting, and they're going to pull it from the newsfeed. And so that's when, time of day, don't post in the middle of the night. If you're trying to post about some sort of group or whatever, and it doesn't get any likes or comments within the first couple hours, you're actually better off deleting it, rewording it, and posting it again. Because at that point, if it hasn't gotten any interaction in the first couple hours, it's decayed, it's pulled off the newsfeed. Nobody's going to see it unless they type in your actual name. And not very many people besides us do that. Okay, so I just went over all of that. Now you want to think of Facebook like your storefront. So I put this picture of a storefront here. So, your first impression is basically your storefront, right? So when I walk up, this looks like a little French cute cafe. They've got some stuff on there. That's kind of what your social media is when you are on social media. So I took Amy and Angela's mostly because I knew that they wouldn't care, and also because they did a really great job. And I really challenge you guys to do a storefront audit. So look at your profile picture. You'll notice both their profile pictures is just them. They're looking. You can see their eyes. Statistically, they say a better picture would be if you were smiling, which Angela is like kind of doing a cute half smile, but I don't really think that matters. I think it's showing your personality because Amy's kind of cute and sassy, so it shows her personality, right? You want to have a good cover photo, so both of them have cover photos that kind of go with who they are. They both have an awesome about section with some hashtags and a little bit of who they are. And then obviously they've got posts on their timeline. Angela has a pinned post, which is pretty cool. So if, she's basically saying hi to anyone who's new, who's coming to her page, super awesome. So kind of do a storefront audit. Like, when somebody first comes to your page, does it show who you are? Does it show what you believe in? Whatever that is that you believe in. It doesn't have to necessarily be about soul. Amy's got homeschooling mama, Angela's got preemie mama, it could be whatever. You could say, I like to crochet, whatever it is that you're into, put that on there. And then once again, a reminder that Facebook is all about relationship with the goal of leaving Facebook. So what in the heck do I mean by that? Why would you want to build a relationship on Facebook to leave Facebook? Well, there's a few reasons. I think you guys know most of them. So speak up. Why would you want to build a relationship on Facebook to pull that relationship off of Facebook? Do I make sense when I say that? Krista looks confused.
Well, it looks like there was a I think it'd be because you want to go deeper with them. You can only go so far on social media. So you got to pull it off of there and then you can develop more of a relationship.
Right, right. So like your basic goal is to get them on the phone, to meet them for coffee, to do a video chat, you know, like Kristen said, to build a deeper relationship, because you can only go so deep typing back and forth. You know, even when I talk to you guys, you know, we'll type back and forth or whatever, but then like, if I really want to know how you're doing, I pick up the phone and I call you, right? 90% of you guys I talk to on the phone because I really want to know how you're doing, like how you're doing in your heart. And you're not going to get that on social media. I had a business coach for a while that told me, it was actually a quote from one of my people, because I finally got this one person on the phone, or maybe it was video, I can't remember. And she said to me, well, Kristen, I wasn't going to tell you my life was falling apart over Facebook Messenger. And I remember talking about that with my business coach, and he was like, bam, you got to get people off of Facebook. They're not going to be like, Kristen, my life is falling apart, and tell you over Facebook Messenger. I mean, maybe some people will, but like to have those really deep, great relationships, you don't want it to be, it may not be possible on Facebook. So, okay. All right. So relationship building number one is to show up. Obviously, you guys know this, to be an active user on Facebook, post at least 3 to 5 times a week on your own profile and interact with others. That builds up the relationship. Relationship building number 2, you want to add value. So this is something that, you know, I'm always working on. I have to ask myself when I post something, did I entertain? Did I teach? Did I encourage? Did I add value? Or was I just posting because I wanted to say something? You know, if it didn't fit any of those categories, did I inspire someone? Did I whatever? If it doesn't do any of those things, then I need to delete it. And let me tell you, I deleted a lot of posts that are just like stupid stuff, right? But I'm like, no, that doesn't represent me. I'm going to delete that. So just kind of keep that in mind. And then you want to be authentic, real, and human. Nobody wants perfect, perfect, perfect. You know, I always kind of say to turn lemons into lemonade. So you could say you're having a bad day, but don't post the, today is just so sucky, and then have everyone be like, I'm so sorry, you're just having a horrible day, you know, whatever, even though they love you. What you could do is you could be like, today was a bad day, but I took a step back and I thought about it and X, Y, and Z, right? So you can still talk about those lemons, because we don't all want to be perfect, because none of us are perfect. But you can turn those lemons into lemonade. Copied posts will never, ever work. There's like this weird sixth sense that people have, that they know that when I steal one of Eve's posts, that I didn't write it. And I literally don't know why it is, but there is something about, people can just tell when you didn't write something. There is a group of people joining another MLM, and they're all copying and pasting these posts, which I know that a lot of you guys have asked for that in the past, but there's a reason why we haven't done this. And so I'm seeing these various people join this other MLM, and literally it's the same post and it doesn't even sound like them. And it just, yeah, they might get some interaction, they might get whatever, but it really doesn't even sound like them, and it's not going to work. Remember to share your life, not just your business. And once again, don't polarize yourself. Take that which you want. You know, sometimes polarization could be too much of one thing and not enough of the other, or too much of the other and not enough of the one thing. But, you know, we kind of want to stay, and I have to be reminded of this myself. But going back to sharing your life, not just your business, like, people can buy supplements anywhere, right? They don't yet know the quality of soul. They don't know yet what the difference is. And so when they first get started, they're buying because they love you, right? And then later on, they're educating themselves and they're finding out how good they are. So just kind of keep that in mind. And then, of course, we know celebrate birthdays, celebrate anniversaries. I, in my CRM, try to keep track of that kind of stuff. You know, I texted a friend this morning, happy birthday to her husband, Darren, because I try to keep track of, you know, family members' birthdays, their anniversaries, and stuff like that. Because people are like, oh, I can't believe you remembered that was so-and-so's birthday. It's just something I really try to do. Engage, ask questions, and always be adding new friends. Okay, I'm talking too much, so I'm going to keep skipping. So here's some statistics, or talking too slow. Here's some statistics. We're not going to even go on that. More people who see your posts, and more conversations and sales. You need to understand how Facebook works. I'm going to skip over a lot of this. Okay, so let's talk about the old way versus the new way. So when I first got started with my first business in 2012, it was literally like bombard Facebook with as much posts as possible. Kristen was with me back then, Sarah Spencer. I'm trying to think who else was with us back then. Do you remember those days, Krista? Like literally, it was like post once an hour, you know, every other hour, stuff like that. It was just like, get as much out there as you possibly could, because that's how the Facebook algorithm worked. And it was like post, flood the market, more is better. And then I think Facebook kind of caught on to that and was like, that is like way too much Kristen Bernius for people to handle. So the new way, honestly, is like 1 to 2 posts a day, maybe even every other day or every couple days. Quality matters a lot more. Carefully planned posts, less is something more, sometimes more in stories and reels. So kind of keep that in mind, that really, if you post too much, you're competing against yourself. Because with the way the Facebook algorithm works, is everybody's fighting to get into that person's newsfeed. So if you put 3 posts up, then your people are almost having to choose, or Facebook is almost having to choose which one of those posts they're going to put in the newsfeed. So just kind of keep that in mind, that, you know, it's super cool to play one of those games and share your results. I do it too, but I may not post that on my newsfeed because I may not want that to be what my people are interacting with, right? Because it's all about quality versus quantity. Keep in mind that your content should be generic. You don't necessarily need to mention your company, whatever. It's changed a little bit now that we have the shareable shopping cart and the referral code. We are doing a little bit more of that now. In the past, we didn't share the specific names of the product or our company, because we were always like, if I say the name of this product, somebody's just going to Google it, or they're going to go to Amazon and they're going to buy it. Now, Solle's made it so easy that we can actually put the link in our posts. We can even put the link in our stories. How many of you guys have been doing that? I've gotten maybe like 3 or 4 sales literally just by putting the link to a particular thing that I'm talking about into my stories. You don't want to be an infomercial. People will stop tuning into your channel. For every 10 posts you make, no more than 2 or 3 should be about your company. So people really want to get to know who you are. Who are your kids? What do you guys like to do? Where did you go on vacation? What does your house look like? What does your office look like? You know, if you have a pet, show your pet. If you have a hobby, show your hobby. And use those reels and stories to kind of vlog your everyday life. Like sometimes I like cracked up how well I know some of these people I follow, because like literally they just like talk throughout their day. You know, Steph was really, really good at that. She would just like talk throughout her day. And I would always be like, man, I just wish I would think to do that. And I just never have gotten there, but I'm working on it. So it would be great to do that. Like I said before, educate, entertain, empower, inspire, you know, educate, practice learning out loud. So Some of you guys are taking like health coach courses, right? I know that is kind of specifically having to do with soul, but you could totally be like, hey, I learned this in my class today. Or maybe you're, I don't know, learning about whatever, learn out loud. Maybe you read a really good book. I'm reading a good book right now about personalities because I just think that stuff is cool. So I'll probably do a post on that. Entertain. You could share like funny stuff or jokes, or, you know, Seth Geigel can take over your Facebook because he's really funny. Empower, share about what you've learned, how that's impacted your life, whether that has to do with soul or not. So just kind of keep those things in mind. Whew, I need to catch my breath. Any questions at this point? I'm flying through this. I'm sorry, guys, because I know it was review for a lot of you guys.
I do have a question. This is Kristen in Nevada.
Hey.
Hey, so I have not, I love the social media stuff, but I've always had these questions and I've never had a whole ton of guidance. So this is what ended up happening. I have a personal page and I was always thinking, do I do a business page or a personal page? What do I do? Without the guidance, I did a business page. And so I guess I just kind of want to hear your thoughts on that. And I try to do what you said, like my dog takes Flex PI. There's pictures of that. You know, I try to include, but I don't do personal stuff. Like, unless my kids are taking Soul, which they are, but you know what I mean? I don't put that in there. I kind of have the two separate spaces going. And I guess I'm just kind of curious your thoughts on that, because I didn't really know which way to go. And so here I am. I've already done it.
Well, there is no wrong. So you didn't do anything wrong. There's opinions. So my opinion on that is that I do have both. I have a business page and then my personal page. So my business page gets posted on maybe once a week. It's very like, I look at it almost like a LinkedIn profile. Like when people are kind of like checking me out to see if I'm legit, they're like, oh, I'm going to go to her business page and see what her business is about. And it's just unabashedly about soul. But in terms of getting interaction on a business page, it's very difficult because your business page is competing with Target, Home Depot, Lowe's, I don't know, Hey Dude shoes. Like they're literally competing with everything. So
Let
there
me
was
say
a
one
time.
thing. I'm not
Hmm?
sure I did actually. I'm not even sure, honestly,
Hmm.
if it's, I call it a business page, but I'm not sure if, I know there's separations in social media. And so I'm not even sure if I made it that, if you want to know the truth. So I call
Okay.
it that, but do you know what I mean? I'm not sure if it's
Or is it a group?
not a group. And the other issue is too that because I love Instagram so much more, I started on Instagram and it's connected to a Facebook page so that I didn't have to do both.
Yeah, it's probably a page.
Okay.
So yeah, what I mean is that in terms of I'll make you a smoothie in a minute. In terms of interaction, it's just really difficult to get
Okay.
interaction because you're fighting so many big brands.
Okay.
And there was once upon a time that I did Facebook ads and I put quite a lot of money into it. And you got to realize that if like we were able to somehow, let's say we put $1,000 in a month for Facebook ads. I mean, these big companies are putting $1,000 an hour in. I mean, it would be nothing to like Pepsi to put $1,000 an hour in. So you're just competing for the same space and it's really hard. So to answer your question, show more of who you are and mix in the soul products on your personal page. And then just use that business page kind of like a LinkedIn profile or a business card. And
Okay.
does that help?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Cause yeah, it's always been a struggle for me. I don't know what the way that I prefer to do it, because that's how I interact with the most amount of people. So, but I'm never quite sure what is the right path. And so I have 2 Instagram pages and I have 2 Facebook pages. And part of it started because it was me telling a personal story about my experience with cancer. And then it was sort of folding into my, that's how I ended up with Solle, was because of that. And so that was the personal part of it. But yeah, I was never sure.
Yeah, and once again, there is no I did it wrong,
Okay.
because social media is always changing. And so yeah, you're good.
Okay.
That's
Okay.
that's a really good question.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. So there is a rule called the 10-10 rule. And so I'm going to tell you a little bit about the 10-10 rule. And so if you're going to be posting maybe something about the allergy group, there is a thing called the 10-10 rule, which just basically means that 10 minutes before your post, you're going to like, comment, message your prospects. It's kind of like almost like preheating the oven in a way. And then you're going to post. And then a lot of us do what I would call is post and run. We're like, I got that good post. I'm done. I got it written. I did my job. Now I'm going to go be with my family. And so we run off of social media, but that 10 minutes after your post is really important for the Facebook algorithm. And so as you are posting, make sure you stick around for about 10 minutes and respond, like, comment, do a little bit of that to kind of keep it going. Now, you'll also, in addition to the 10-10 rule, kind of keep in mind that anytime that you go and you respond to someone who's commented on your post, that like reinvigorates the post, kind of puts it back into the newsfeed. And so sometimes I will purposefully not respond to people for 24 or 48 hours, and then I'll go back and respond, and then it kind of shows it to a whole new crop of people. So just kind of keep in mind that you can sort of play with that algorithm to your advantage as well. So that's exactly what I'm saying. Work the algorithm to your advantage. I don't personally love the algorithm because I don't like that it's kind of like a popularity contest, but Facebook likes to reward people who are active members. So, some of you who are on Facebook more than others, it would be nothing for you to get 50 to 200 likes on something that you post. Whereas some of you who don't spend as much time on Facebook, you're really excited when you maybe get 20. That's because Facebook does reward those who are more active on Facebook. Keep in mind that Facebook is literally tracking everything you do. They are, whether we want to believe it or not. I just had this happen the other day. I was talking with someone on Facebook, and I want to be a plant girl, but I tend to kill plants, but I'm working on it. And so her profile picture or her cover photo was like all these beautiful house plants. And so I messaged her and we're chatting about it, and I'm asking how I don't kill my plants. And literally I went back to the Facebook newsfeed and I scrolled for a little bit, and there were these t-shirts that said "The Plant Lady" that were for sale, like within 30 seconds. So Facebook is tracking what you're doing. That's how they do advertising. That's how which I buy a lot of stuff at Facebook because they do a really good job advertising. But just keep in mind that it is tracking it. So even if you don't like somebody's post, let's say you go to someone's newsfeed that you're friends with, but you don't really like them that much, but you're just kind of like, oh, I want to know what that person's doing. And you kind of go through their newsfeed and you look at their pictures, but you don't like or comment on it. I hate to break it to you, but Facebook knows that you're doing that. And then you're going to end up seeing that more and more. I just had this discussion with my dad. We have a family member that really annoys him. And he's like, I'm so sick of seeing her stuff. All she does is complain on Facebook. And I'm like, well, guess what, Dad? Every time you look at her picture, Facebook knows that you're looking at her picture. So stop looking at her stuff. And then her stuff won't show up. And he's like, well, I don't touch, I don't like it. And I'm like, no, it doesn't matter. You're looking at the picture. So just kind of keep that in mind, that it does even know, Facebook even knows how long you're looking, or if you click to see more, or any of that stuff. Okay, as I said, the first 15 minutes after a post are the most important. I'm not going to go into all of this. Make sure that your post includes a call to action. Now let's talk a little bit about comments. So treat comments as an opportunity to create engagement, but once again, you're kind of like your train of activity is like have a conversation with people in the comments, but you kind of want to take it to Facebook Messenger, right? And then from Facebook Messenger, you really want to take that conversation to a phone call or a Zoom call, if possible, or a voice message. But think of the comments as a way to boost up your post so that ultimately we can help more people and we can change more people's lives, right? Because the more people that see our posts, let's say about Adaptable, who are struggling with stress or anxiety or depression, and that's just more people that we can help. Make sure you have fun. People love knowing that you're a real person on the other end. So that's one of the reasons why I love voice messaging. I know Kristen Fennemo's favorite thing in the world is voice messaging, but people like to hear your tone of voice. They like to know you're actually genuine, because sometimes the way certain people type, they could be the sweetest person in the world, but they type like assholes. And there are people who they just do. And I don't know what it is. It's just maybe they're shorter or like, I don't know. But then when you hear their voice, you're like, oh, you're actually a really nice person. All right. Last little thing we're going to talk about is, do you have enough friends to be effective? And this is just playing with the numbers. Okay, I'm not saying that you have to go out and get 50 million friends, but we do have to think about statistics when we're in business, because in a way, even when you rock the Facebook algorithm, it's still a numbers game. So statistics say that you have a good sales conversion rate is about 10%, okay? That's a pretty good conversion rate. So if you were a telemarketer and you called 100 people and 10 of them signed up for your lawn fertilizer, you're having a really good day at work, because that's a 10% ratio. So statistically, if you want to stick with that 10% ratio, if you have 2,000 friends, that's 200 potential customers. Now you have to think to yourself, if I have 2,000 friends, take away my 467 amazing soul friends, because we all love each other, but they're not potentials, and you take away a few other people, you're really left with 1,500, let's say. That's 150 potential soul customers. So that is a numbers game, that is statistics. Kind of keep that in mind. So if you have 5,000 friends, you have 500 potential customers. I think that's why it's so important that when you go through your friends, if there's someone that you're just not vibing with, you know, you don't have the same core beliefs, you don't have the same, I don't know, attitude or interests or whatever, and you don't actually know them in real life, there is a defriend button. And that's not to be a jerk or anything like that. That's just to open up that opportunity for you to be friends with someone who maybe you vibe with more, right? So keep that in mind. So there's a few different methods that I use to add more friends. My favorite one is friends of friends. If there's someone, if I'm friends with you and you're friends with someone else, I'm probably going to like that person too. So if my friend Brittany comes over and she brings her friend Sarah, because I like Brittany, I'm probably going to like Sarah. And that's just reality. And on top of it, if you have friends of friends, they're more likely to accept your friend request. So that is something that I have done a lot over the years. Method number 2 is interest groups and communities. So maybe you homeschool your kids and you're in a homeschooling group, and as you're chatting and, you know, you answer somebody's question and you want to bring it to Facebook message, that's a great opportunity to add that person as a friend. I've done that a lot. And then method number 3, I called it the 10 city challenge. This is something that we did years and years ago. I think we did this in like 2017, 2018. And it was more or less, you know, kind of to get out of your area. So 1, 2, 3, 3 of us on here are all from Northwest Indiana, right? And so when I'm adding people as a friend, I try to make sure that they're not in Indiana, Illinois, Michigan, Wisconsin, let's say, because that's just, I'm trying to get out of that area. And so a lot of times I might friend request someone, let's say in Wyoming, because there's not a lot of soul people in Wyoming. So if I have a friend of a friend who lives in Wyoming, I might friend request them just because that's how you grow. So I'm looking at the call right now. You know, we've got Kristen in Canada, Ashley in South Dakota, Cassie in Minnesota, Kristen in Nevada, Jody, I think, is in Idaho, Paige is in Jersey, Sarah's in Illinois, Corinne's in Idaho, Rhonda, is that Rhonda in Jersey? Rhonda's in Jersey. Julie, where are you, Julie? I think she's Northwest Indiana. And then we have Chris in Louisiana. That's how that happens, as you become friends of friends of friends of friends of friends in different areas. So what we did back in the day was we did a 10 city challenge. Also Lowell. Okay, so she's like 2 cities south of me. And so what we did was we kind of looked at a map and we were like, man, it would be awesome to start a little group of people in Massachusetts, you know? And so we kind of listed 10 areas that we felt like we'd like to expand our business, and it worked because that's where some of you guys came from. So, all right. This is all about relationship building. There is an acronym called FORM. So you want to learn about people's families, their occupation, what do they like to do for fun, and what motivates them. And that's a great way to get to know people. Obviously, this is what we have our CRM for. And that is it. So that is actually what I did there was I actually took 3 previous team calls and we did it in 1 call. So if I went a little bit too fast for you guys, I'm sorry, but I knew that a lot of it was review, but I think it's a great reminder for all of us in what we do on social media. So questions, comments?
Kristen, I like hearing all of this because it makes me go, hey, I could do this. I could post more and I could comment and then I could post 10 minutes later. You know, it makes me kind of want to do Facebook, which you guys all know me. I don't really want to do that. I just want to just be me and see my clients and do what I've known, but it makes me excited. It really does.
Well, I'm glad. And I think that this was a really good reminder for me. As I said, I was talking with Dave about this previously, and I was like, oh, I'm just so sick of Facebook. Like, Facebook is like a job for me. Other people, you know, they go on Facebook because it's like, oh, I'm going to go see what so-and-so is doing. No, I feel like I'm working when I'm on Facebook because it's a job. And even in preparing for this call, it was a great reminder for me too, that like, man, I'm not doing the 10-10 rule anymore. Like I'd kind of forgotten about that. And there were some other things in there, even like the different cities. I'm like, man, it's been a while since I've done that. So it's a great reminder for me as well. So.
I was going to say, I remember it being the 5 and 5 rule. I don't remember the 10, but so I was going to say, you know, I got hung up on it a while back, like last year, and it just like, I would be super stressed because I would post in the evening. And I told Chris, I was like, you know, I hate having to post in the evening, you know, and we took that word hate out of the equation. And if I don't enjoy doing it, then I don't enjoy it, then I won't post at night. But I felt like that's when people are on, that's when people are, you know, winding down and things. But you know what, in the long run, it doesn't matter when you post, because it matters what you do. Whether you're, you can still go in later in the evening and comment on a few people's whatever later. But I found that was really, for me, it was like messing with my sleep. I needed to be shut down at night. And even when I'm posting in the morning and things like that, people are still seeing myself. People are still commenting. I'm still excelling in where I need to be and what I need to be doing. So the biggest thing too is, try your best for getting those 5 or 10 people commenting before and after. But if you don't get it done, it's not the end of the world. The fact is, you did it, you got your post out there, and the right people are going to come to you. So look at it that way.
Yeah. And everything you said is so accurate. If you put a good quality post out there, I still do believe that there is time decay, but I feel like it's different now. I don't feel like they're as quick to remove stuff from the algorithm. And especially if it's a good quality post, people will see that. And then what's the second thing you said? I was going to comment on that. Now I'm brain farting what you said.
The commenting or the time of the day you post?
No, something else. Oh, the commenting. So there have been times when I have done, I think in particular, I did a collagen post and I didn't get any comments, but I had someone purchase off that post. So obviously Facebook was showing it to people. And even if we can't visibly see the likes or comments, the fact that people were clicking that see more and they were reading it, and then someone clicked the external link, it was showing in people's news feeds. So, use your own judgment. If it's getting nothing, and it's kind of a time sensitive thing, then maybe delete it and post it at a different time. But if it's not getting anything and it isn't like for a group or like something, you could always leave it and see what happens. Anybody else?
I have a comment and a question. So many people scroll Facebook and don't participate at all. Like I've yelled at like my brothers. I'm like, just like my post. Like I know you see them, and they're like, why? I'm like, I think guys, especially, like they don't want people to know they're on there or something. And that's just a comment. So I think people see stuff, especially if it's like related to health or something, because they might not want to like be like, I don't really want her to know that I'm on to her, that like, or like what she's actually doing. But so then they just kind of read it and don't like it or anything. So I think that's true. Maybe people see our stuff a little more than they actually interact with it.
Mm-hmm.
And then if we do a storefront audit, should we mention Solle on our front page, like on that, whatever you call it should we mention that we're doing that, or?
That is totally up to you.
Okay.
I think that's kind of like a preference. Like I go back and forth because there's like something to not having that on there, because then it's like, as you're adding new friends and whatnot, they're going to be like, oh, she's with Soul Naturals, so she just wants me to buy from her. But then there's another part of it where it's like, oh, she's from Soul Naturals. What is that? So it can kind of go both ways. But I would agree with you on like the scrolling stuff too. I mean, I even find myself guilty of that sometimes, where I don't take the time to like or comment, especially if it's like not a soul person. I always try with your soul people to comment, but other people I'm just like, oh, that's interesting. Oh, that's interesting. And I may not. So you're right. And I think guys are that way. My brother is on Facebook all the time and he has no profile picture and he doesn't like or comment or post. And so we call him the Facebook ghost, because he knows everything that's going on because he's on there all the time, but he won't like admit it. So anybody else before we log off for the night?
Well, it's funny because I'm just going through notes from my coaching last week, and we have to remember, and we've said this before, Kristen and Grace was talking to me, so I missed this, I apologize, but it takes 7 to 12 times before they purchase from you too. So although you feel like you keep saying the same thing over and over again, right? And I'm like, Kristen, like I found Facebook, I don't even scroll. Like I might look at the first 2 things and I'm like, some days I'm peace out because it's like, it became so much like work. So I'm trying to kind of refine that again. But yeah, right. Like, and I was just, we have to remember they look at a million times, and I actually am working on some really cool posts that I'm going to change it up. And it's the PSPR for your offers. So your problem, your solution, the process, and the person's results.
Ooh,
I know.
can you
We'll
share
talk
that in
about that
Soul
later.
Squad?
Maybe. No, just teasing. Remind me, because I
Please.
might not think of it. Grace is here hollering to me, asking for her hug and kiss, but remind me, Kristen. But I'm learning it from my coach, and I have like pages of ideas now by taking that. Right. So let's see, right? I think it has great potential. Right.
Absolutely.
But we have to remember that it takes 7 to 12 times. Right.
Yeah.
So,
and it's,
we
it's
did,
such a great reminder, even like Kristen, I don't know her last name, from Nevada, right?
Yeah.
Who said that
Yes.
she had.
Sorry, I'm here.
I don't know your last name, Kristen.
Doris.
Doris, who you were talking about having cancer. Like, when was the last time you shared that piece of your story?
So it
On
was a
social
whole
media.
thing on the Facebook thing. And then I don't know. And it's been a minute. Sometimes it's hard to write. Sometimes the stuff really comes to me, and sometimes it was hard to do. And then I had gotten to a point where I just don't love Facebook. There was a lot of words, and Instagram was pictures. I was like, oh, yay. I don't have to use all the words. So I'm trying to tie it back now. I'm trying to learn how to attach those things together so that I can share it in one place and share with that more. Because that's, like I said, that's really why I came to Soul. They save you, and then you have to recover from them saving you.
Yeah. I mean, we all have that story that we forget. Like, I mean, I was just talking, I don't know if I was talking to Corinne or who I was talking about how when I first started Soul, we were struggling so bad financially that I had such a crappy cell phone that I would have to drive to the stop sign to make any phone calls, because like we couldn't afford a normal like cell phone plan. And like, like it's broken down minivan and all this stuff. Like, I haven't talked about that stuff in so long. And that's important to continue to share. There's some people on this call that probably don't even know that about us. And so it's really important to continue to share your story, even when you feel like you're a broken record.
right.
So thank you for that,
Yeah.
Krista.
Well, yeah. And the other thing I had was the circumstance, the thought, the feeling, the action, and then the results. Right? When you're posting. What circumstance are you helping alleviate? What's your thought that brings? What's the feeling the person has? What's the action? What's the result? So I'll try, like I said, remind me later, and I'll post this a little bit, a couple of notes with it.
Thank you.
But yes. And
All
it's
right,
true. Where's
ladies.
Kristen Doris. It's true. I haven't told my cancer, like nobody on here knows it. Well, not nobody, like 3 people on here know this. I mean, I didn't even celebrate that I was cancer free this year because it feels like it's been so long, and I feel like I've told the story, but you're right. So thank you for the reminder that people don't always know.
Yeah, and people don't know like your story about having to change your clothes like 3 or 4 times a night from the hot flashes from having cancer, and how Maka helped you with that. Like,
Right.
that's
Yeah,
an
exactly. I haven't told
incredible
that story in a long time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's an incredible story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this was a great reminder. I'm with Corinne, right? Like like we've heard it, but we forget, right? Or we get tired. We're still human.
Yeah. All right, ladies. Well, thank you for hopping on tonight. And I promise it will take me a month to post the recording. And y'all have a good night, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.